I drank like it was my job for like 10 years. I had partying every day and blah, blah, blah. I had a mental breakdown.
Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah, it's Michael McCrudden. I am still on this channel, not as regularly as I used to be, but I've been reading all your comments. You guys seem to love Marlon, you love Azalea, you love Clyde, there's Rick, there's like Kara, there's a lot of people working here, so thanks for everyone tuning in as you do. Now today's a no-brainer. We got Tom MacDonald. This video blew up. This guy has got one of the most loyal and consistent fan bases that I've ever encountered doing this show, but there's a lot of naysayers out there. There's a lot of people that have kind of thrown shade his way. It's a fantastic story. I mean, this guy, I don't know, he's kind of one of a kind. So I'm excited to talk to him. You guys also sent in some questions, so I'll be asking him what you guys want to know. And we're going to be doing more interviews. That's something that I'll be doing more moving forward. I think we got Pooh Shiesty also scheduled. Marlon's going to take over that one. But we're reaching out to everyone because this channel has come a long way and it's time to connect. Plus, COVID's been, kind of isolating. So it's nice to make friends. Anyway, I did all that without a script. I did pretty good. Let's get into the interview. All right, so we got Tom MacDonald here. Now, this guy is coming off a huge win. What happened yesterday? You were on Billboard with, what, 4 number ones?
4 number ones, dude.
How does that even happen, bro? Like, your whole life came together at once, culminated in this big win.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. So it had been at the beginning of the year, it had been like a month since I'd released anything. My girlfriend had planned on releasing an album and some videos, so I gave her the month to sort of just do her thing. I didn't want to overshadow what she was doing. And then I had a video planned for the 20th, which was like a super, believe it or not, Fake Woke was the lesser of the quote unquote controversial songs that I had ready to start the year off. So I had a video slated for the 20th, and then the election and the events surrounding that in America, stuff happened, which completely sort of took my song out of context. So I canceled that video, and I was scrambling to put something else together because, like I said, it had been 4 weeks, and I needed something new. And I put together Fake Woke and put that out, and it went just super viral, and I ended up on Fox News and on all these different interviews and media platforms, and that just sort of thrust that video into a new echelon, and the streams and downloads combined with the views in a condensed period of time just thrust it to the top of the Billboard charts in 4 different categories. So it was 4 number ones, put me at the top number 1 spot on the emerging artist chart. It also charted in the top 100 and the hot 100 hip hop R&B songs. And it was just like one of those things, man. We had a powder keg and a spark happened.
Yeah, a whole bunch of things culminated at once. But this isn't like your first rodeo, right? Like, I went back, this is like 10 years in the making.
Yeah, I mean, I've been grinding it out for a long time, man, and it seems like in the last 3 years especially, considerable success, but in the last year and a half, it's been a really wild ride. So I actually had found out I'm still really new to this whole you're famous thing. So I hadn't even been paying attention to the Billboard charts. And then after we hit number 1, I actually went in and did some digging and found out that I've had 4 or 5 singles chart and in the top 5 in a lot of different categories, which was and I just found out yesterday that even happened. So it's weird. I got on the phone yesterday with Billboard, and now I got 10 plaques coming to the house for songs I didn't even know charted.
Wow. There's gonna be so you're an independent artist. There's no label, there's no manager, there's no publicist. A lot of people are gonna be asking, how the hell did you do this? There's no short answer, obviously, but
man, I'm not even fully aware of how this happened. It was just a really sickening work ethic and consistency that lasted an extended period of time, and it was weird. 3 years ago, I literally had no views on anything and no fan base and had very little traction. I was living in like a rundown shack in South Central with my girlfriend. And essentially what happened was we didn't have money for food. We didn't have money for rent. We didn't have anything. And I had half a cigarette left in this cigarette pack. And I went out and sat on the front step, and over that half cigarette wrote this song called Dear Rappers. And I walked in the house after writing it and told my girlfriend, hey, I think I just did the one that's going to change everything. We need to shoot this video right now. And my girlfriend is a big part of this operation. She's a music video director and shoots music videos and blah, 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 blah. So we ended up shooting the video that day. And when it was done, I called my friend Brandon and I said, dude, I think I just wrote the song that's gonna change my life. I sent it to him. He agreed. I said, dude, I need $250 so I can run ads on this song because I'm flat broke. I have no money. He sent me $250. I called another friend of mine in Canada. I said, dude, I need $150. I'll pay you back. I promise. He gave me $150. I called my younger sister. I borrowed $300 from her. I found a guy on Facebook who said he was an investor. I went for a meeting with him and I borrowed $400 from him. And I took all of this money that I had bummed off with my two friends, my sister and this stranger, which I think amounted to about $1,100. I dropped the video on Facebook, put that $1,100 behind a Facebook ad for the video, and less than 24 hours it had 1 million views, and literally like everything changed. And I just been holding on tight since then, just trying to keep up with the machine.
That is a beautiful story. Rock bottom, essentially, and all in.
Yeah, bet it all on red, man. Sometimes you gotta do it.
I love it. All right, so we're in Canada here. I know you're a Canadian. We're a little far removed from everything that's going on in America. We're talking pandemic. We're talking Capitol Hill. You guys are in Los Angeles. There was rioting there. Can you just tell me like what's been going on in your world during like the last few months?
What was happening was a lot of people who were speaking about it online were all of a sudden disappearing, their profiles, and they're being deplatformed, and they're just sort of being like erased from the internet. So for that reason alone, like I've worked, like you had mentioned, like this has been a 10-year overnight success. So, and that meant way too much to me to put in jeopardy for something like that. So I sort of like stayed away from it and didn't say anything about it. But obviously that was in DC, which is, you know, a long way from here. But like I was living really close to Melrose when the initial riots were going on, and the pandemic started, and George Floyd was killed by the police. So like there was concussion grenades going off in front of my house. There was 2 police cars on fire on my street. There was people hiding in my yard with arms full of Nike boxes that they looted from Melrose. Like, so I've been in the thick of it. Like, Nova and I, like, when this stuff was happening initially and the pandemic had started and there was all these riots going on, like, and we had a curfew in place. Like, I remember one night, the night that Melrose was burning, I was literally standing in my living room, like with my girlfriend, holding a machete, just like waiting for somebody to breach the house. Like, it was terrifying, dude. And then it was only a couple days after that, we had curfews in effect. And I remember my phone buzzing and it said like, resident of like this area, like you have a curfew 4:30 p.m. And it was like 4:00 p.m. at the time. And I said to Nova, we need food, we need cigarettes, we need deodorant. There was like a few things we needed. And it was stuff that couldn't wait the night. So I said, I'm going to the store to get this stuff, curfew or not. And Nova said, well, I'll go with you, but I have asthma, I can't run. So if you get into trouble, like you're gonna have to like carry me essentially. So we ventured out and go to the first store and it's closed. Second store closed. Third store closed. We reach the fourth store, finally find one that's open. But by the time we reach that fourth store, we're about 40-minute walk from our house at this point. I get all the stuff I need, and it is a ghost town on the streets. Like, Nova and I are the only two people as far as you can see in any direction. So I'm like freaking out a little bit because I'm like, all we need is a cop to drive by. I don't know how seriously they're enforcing this. If a helicopter sees us, are they gonna call it in? Like, what's the deal? So we start walking home with our groceries, and we get into the subdivision, and this lady pulls up next to us, skirt, like 100 miles an hour, rolls down her window. She's like, where are you guys going? And we're like, we're going home. And she's like, okay, well, go a different way because the military's coming up this street right now. And there's only one way for us to get home, and it's down that street. So I said to Nova, like, we're gonna have to run, and if your asthma's too bad, I'll carry you. And we literally took 20 steps, turned the corner, and there is like an armored vehicle, like a tank with a soldier hanging off the side of it holding a machine gun. And there's just like a bunch of vehicles, military vehicles following them. So we had to deke out into an alleyway and hide behind garbage cans and eventually made it home. But like, that's just a couple examples. Like, we have been in the thick of the volatile political climate in America for the last 9 months.
If it's not the pandemic that's gonna get you, your actual lives are at risk.
Yeah, right?
I want to talk about Nova. I can't understand how you guys, like, it looks like the last 2 tracks just dropped within a week. And there's so much production. You gotta make the song, you gotta make the video, you gotta promote this stuff, get it out to everyone, then hit Billboard. I just don't, like, can you tell me, like, how you streamlined this whole process?
Literally, like, what happened was, like I said, I'd had that original song and video slated for the 20th. And then with the Capitol Hill stuff that happened, I had to pivot and go a different direction. And there was multiple things that I was taking into account. The political climate, so I couldn't directly, Trump got banned off Twitter for quote unquote inciting violence. I read those tweets. I personally didn't feel like that was the case. I could definitely understand how somebody might purposefully distort the language in those tweets to serve their narrative of crossing community guidelines. So seeing how that was done, I was being very careful. What can I say? How will it be taken out of context? How will this be used to, how will it be used to deplatform me? How can they take what I'm saying, distort it to have it breach their terms of service and then remove me? So that was on my mind. People being deplatformed was on my mind. The things going on in the world were on my mind. So it was a really dicey period to be writing songs of the nature that I write. So essentially, like, what happened was, over the course of like 3 or 4 days, I wrote like 6 songs, and it seemed like they were either too controversial or weren't powerful enough, or I wanted it to be the perfect thing for the times. So out of the 5 songs rather that I wrote, Fake Woke and Cancelled were 2 of those songs. And I just thought, okay, I'm gonna go with Fake Woke, and we'll shoot the video for that, which we did. And I'm anticipating some substantial backlash to this song, and the possibility of being deplatformed or removed off of social media. It's a real possibility. So to sort of prepare for that, I said, okay, we'll go with Cancelled second. So in the event that I get removed, Cancelled will be even more relevant. So I didn't get deplatformed, but I got quote unquote canceled by the internet mob. So it was just a little bit of foresight. I wrote the 5 songs trying to figure out what I was going to do next, and 2 of them just seemed to pair together really well, and that's what we did.
I didn't see it. Like, I got off Twitter myself because I just found it way too toxic of a platform. But I was looking up headlines. I saw some people said you called out Eminem. I didn't really see it that way. You did just pass him on a billboard, right? And that was like a huge moment for you. So I saw where you were playing with, like, you know, you gave him a shout out, and it was all relevant what you were saying. What were they coming at you for, or like where's this angry mob coming from?
Well, it's a couple different places. Like, there is just like a culture on the internet, especially on Twitter, and I agree that Twitter is the most toxic platform. It's undeniable. It's crazy. So the internet mobs kind of came from two places. There's the whole cancel culture thing where it's like anything that they don't agree with, or these days, man, like, you can't talk about anything without people throwing a label. You're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're anti-feminism, you're this, you're that. And it's just like, these are people that like either A, don't want to have the conversation, or B, don't know enough about the conversation to have it. So instead of like having some form of dialogue, they just like hurl insults and labels and stuff. So those people, anytime that something hits the internet, whether it's a song or a music video or a movie or a skit or comedy, whatever it is, if they don't like it, if it doesn't seem to align itself with their personal ideologies, they get all their little internet friends to cancel you. And essentially, like, all that is a bunch of people saying, you're canceled, we're not gonna listen to you anymore. And like, what people don't realize is like, the best way to handle that when somebody says, hey, you're canceled, the only way to handle it is to say, hey, no, I'm not. Off. Like, and that's it. And that's how you deal with it. So that was one group of people. And the other group of people is the aforementioned stans, which are Eminem fans. And like, your guess is as good as mine as far as those guys go. I think that Eminem is such a prolific character in hip hop, and rightfully so, but his fan base is just so blinded by fandom. I've owned every album that guy ever put out, with the exception of like whatever the last few years. But when I was a kid, that was like my go-to. That was what inspired. I wouldn't be here right now without Eminem. So, but that doesn't, just because, you know, Eminem inspired me and Eminem's the greatest of all time, does not make him immune to criticism. And like, that's how his fans feel. So just by mentioning his name in the song, it just started a whirlwind of shit. So those were the two groups that were being loud on the internet, both for different reasons. But so it wasn't like a conglomerative effort. It was two different groups mad for different things, but it was really loud on the internet for a few days, that's for sure.
I just had a bit of a light bulb moment. Like, I was a huge Eminem fan myself growing up, and like, we witnessed him in Maryland. They were just villainized by mainstream media. Now you're having your big blow up, and it's such telling of the times that now the people, it's like a mass army of fans or stans. It's the unheard people, the fans online, as opposed to the media conglomerates coming after you.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, man. Like, it seems like maybe this is just not accurate, but it kind of is an interesting observation to think that back when sort of Eminem was in his prime, or even like, you know, slightly earlier than that with like NWA and stuff like that, like, it seemed like those presences were under attack from the actual media for the content of their songs. And now, like, it's just bizarre and they were being championed by the people and attacked by mainstream media. And it's just bizarre to think that I was on the news last week talking about my song being championed by the media and attacked by the people. It's just like a really weird juxtaposition, you know?
Exactly my point. That is amazing. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling. And there's so many things now for an artist or a public figure to deal with simultaneously. But I love how you seem to be reactive, you know, with you're dropping singles instead of albums, and you're able to almost morph your story as you go.
Yeah, I was a pro wrestler for like a long time before I was a musician, and at its essence, like pro wrestling is about telling stories, and it's always about good and evil, and the most accurate way to tell the story is to read the room. So you don't choreograph an entire match backstage with your buddy and then go out and execute the match in front of 400 people, because that's like, if you create the whole thing and then you go out into the ring to perform it to this audience, and you get partway through the match and you get partway through the story of the match, and the people are not engaging, or the people are not joining you for that ride, and they're sitting on their hands and not making any noise, but now you're locked in because you've choreographed this entire match, then everybody has to sit around and just kind of suffer through whatever you're doing. Whereas if you go into a match with very little things choreographed, which is the best way to do it, you talk to your guy backstage, okay, cool, like this is what I was thinking we'd start with, then we'll go into the shine, then we'll go on into some heat, the hot comeback, this is the finish, this is the spot where I'm gonna get the pinfall, cool. You know your starting position, you know your ending position. Now you can tell the story in a way that will engage the people around you, okay? So that's kind of how I see making music. If I make an entire album that's true to me right now and relevant to the times that are right now, and then that album doesn't come out for 6 months, how engaging could that be to your audience? It makes a lot more sense to me to be like, here's this single, this is really relevant to what's going on right now, this is who I am and how I feel right now, this is my observations of the world right now. A few weeks later, another one. And the whole time you're keeping your finger to the pulse and you're reading the room and saying, okay, what is the next logical piece of this story? What's the next chapter in this book? And you're seeing how people are reacting and how they're digesting what you're doing. And that is inspiring you to change the ideas you have and make them more digestible. And then once you've, put out 10 singles and 10 videos, you're like, cool. Now it's album time. I'm gonna write the next 10 songs. I'm gonna drop a 20-song album 4 weeks from now. Everything's relevant, everything's fresh, everybody's engaged. They're enjoying the story that I'm telling. It's still real and true and relevant to me. And that's really the psychology behind it.
This is what I think you've mastered better than anyone. And I should have known better, but I didn't think it was wrestling that taught you all this. But it's your navigation of the internet and your reactiveness, I think, is the magic that you have that I've never seen I've never seen this done before. So kudos to you. And I was going to ask you, I'm like, you're obviously super educated, a super insightful guy. Is it wrestling that you, or do you study after, like, when you're not making music? Like, where do you get it from?
I think like a lot of that probably comes from my parents, neither of which are scholars by any stretch, but both, really level-headed, really hardworking, really smart people. My mom is really like life smart, and I think my dad is, he's gonna get beat up for saying this. Like, my mom's gonna kick his butt, but I think my dad reads a lot of books, so I think that he's a little more refined in his knowledge. But they're both very smart people, and they, obviously that's in my DNA, so that doesn't hurt. But I read a lot on the internet. I watch a lot of videos. I research a lot of stuff. Like, not a wide variety of topics, to be completely honest, like things that are relevant to me, like mental health and sobriety. And I used to, for many years, like, I was really into like science, and I would download like theoretical physics textbooks on my iPad and just read like lessons and different stuff in the theoretical physics textbooks and stuff like that. So it's weird, dude. Like, I don't think that I'm especially intelligent or insightful. Like, when I end up on some of these because I'm making songs like Fake Woke that are politically charged, I tend to end up on a lot of like political podcasts or like the news or something. And I'm listening to these people speak and I'm just like, I am so unqualified to be here having this conversation with these people. Like, it's crazy. But I'm glad I come off that way.
Yeah, no, well, I've interviewed a lot of like Lil Xans and Lil Pumps, and so it's funny for me to be like, oh my God, this guy's in a different level.
I think the contrast just exists because I'm not brain dead from eating 13 Xanax a day. So
tell me about sobriety. So I've like dabbled with sobriety. I've only made it like 2 or 3 months max, but I do find myself a lot sharper when I'm not, you know, drinking or smoking or whatever. How long have you been sober?
It's kind of like a big misconception to people that they think that I've been like totally sober for like a long period of time, and it's just like I think it's because I've made the song sober and I talk about not drinking and stuff a lot, but like I drank like it was my job for like 10 years. I had partying every day and blah, blah, blah. I had a mental breakdown. I quit smoking. I quit drinking. I quit partying. I quit coffee. I quit soda. I quit junk food. I quit fast food. I quit everything all at once because like literally like I was dying, dude. Like it was really bad, bro. Like I called and left a real scary voicemail on my parents' phone one day. And then for 2 weeks, I was living in a basement suite alone in Vancouver, and I was just in terrible mental anguish, and I couldn't leave the house, and I couldn't do anything, like, and I was gagging, like, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, like, I was cutting up one egg and one piece of toast and trying to eat one egg and one piece of toast every day, and I was, like, literally gagging and throwing up as I was eating, because I was that anxious. Like, it was really weird. And I lay in bed with my laptop on and the podcast playing on my phone because I could not sit in silence. Like, I was just totally scrambled. I remember what was on my laptop, and it was always Jimmy Fallon because it was mindless noise. It was something that I didn't have to think about. So I just needed clutter because I could not sit in silence by myself. So that went on for 2 weeks. My parents saw that going to a really bad place. So they paid a friend, or then they didn't pay, they asked a friend of mine to come break into my house, pack my bags, drive me to the airport, put me on a plane and send me back to Edmonton. So I went back to Edmonton. I lived with my mom for 9 months, excruciating months, not because of my mother, but because anxiety and depression were just like, I was floored. And I wasn't speaking, I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, wasn't making music. I was just literally laying on the couch all day. I said 4 words to my mom every day. She'd wake up and say, how are you doing? I'd say, not good. She'd get home from work and say, how are you doing? And I'd say, not good. And that was it for 9 months. And then because of that situation, I had quit all stimulants, drinking, weed, coffee, soda, food, blah, 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 blah. And I started meditating and started reading and started researching what I was going through and exercising and blah, blah, blah. So eventually my visa gets approved. I'm going back to the United States. My dad says he's watched me go through all this stuff for like the last 10 months. And my dad's like my best friend. And I know he didn't say it, but he was terrified for me. I know he was. And I remember shaking his hand before he dropped me off at the airport and said, you got one job when you go to the United States. All you gotta do is live up to your potential, that's it. So I came here. There has been a few times where for celebratory reasons, I had a beer or I had a glass of champagne or something like that. But it's been like a handful of times. Like last year, in the entire year, I probably drank like 7 beers. So I'm not like the type of person that I can't have, if I have one drink, I'm gonna totally go off the rocker and my life's ruined type of thing. Like, I almost died from what I was doing, and like that was enough for me. I contemplated killing myself every day for 9 months. So that was enough for me to learn my lesson. I don't like have any desire to drink anymore. I don't have one beer and then feel like I need more. So it's probably been since I had my last drink, currently right now, probably like 8 months. And it's like not something that I'm actively trying to stay away from.
They give away.
It is.
They give away chips for way less than that. So I think you're in the clear, my friend.
Yeah. So it's weird, man. Some people need those chips. Some people need to go to meetings. Some people need to go to rehab. I'm a firm believer in the best way to quit doing something is to do it so much that it almost kills you. You'll learn your lesson that way.
All right, in the odd event that you catch this man out and he's celebrating a big win and he may or may not have a beer in his hand, go easy on him. He's worked long and hard to get to where he is, and he ain't gonna go off the rails anytime soon. I just got a few more questions we have from some fans, and then I think we can wrap this up.
Sure.
Dirks by Daylight, he asked, Tom, why does he always post the songs on YouTube with the swear words removed?
2 reasons. A lot of people, a lot of my fans, I get messages all the time from mothers and fathers who say, got a alarm going on. From mothers and fathers who say, I listen to your music with my kids, whole family loves your music, stuff like that. I've had parents come to shows with their kids. I like specifically remember this one dad who came up and shook my hand and said, man, I just want to thank you. My boys are 15 and 16 years old now, and they're reaching that point where they don't really want to hang out with mom and dad anymore, and they don't think it's cool. And your music has given us an opportunity to like bond as a family, and we're all here to see you tonight together. And this is the first time that I've been able to hang out with my boys in months. So, it's for that, because I've done it, and I've also done a lot of songs like Buttholes and I'm Corny and Everybody Hates Me, and kids really like those songs, and parents send me videos of their kids dancing to them and stuff like that. So I don't want to just be too vulgar on the internet and sort of alienate those kids and their parents, and just make it weird. And then also, like, if I want to promote my song on YouTube, they don't allow cussing to be in any of their songs. So as sort of like preemptively, proactively, I censor the songs just for the music videos on YouTube. But 99% of the time they deny my songs for advertisement anyway. And like, it's weird. Like when I make a song that's politically charged, they'll deny it for shocking content, or they'll deny it for like something sexually explicit, or they'll deny it for like tobacco and alcohol use. And none of these things are happening in the video, but that's what they're citing as the reasons to not allow me to promote. And it's funny, if you go, like, most commonly I'm denied for quote unquote shocking content. And if you read the community standard or the term and condition of what shocking content is, it is such a generalized explanation of what the definition of shocking content is, which is they use very broad terms and bland language on purpose so that they can personally interpret it how they want and sort of contextualize it in a way that will allow them to police your content. Yeah. And it's done on purpose that way. So just proactively, that's why I censor the songs. And also, like I said, about the kids and the families and stuff. So
I get it. I knew that when I was asking. Just kids, the radio used to cut out the curse words when we were growing up. So now it's just YouTube, and you end up doing it yourself.
That's it.
Ozzy Martinez 95 asked Tom what was his past like and how does he learn to overcome it. and what got him in the music industry and what his secret is to be an artist. It's a big one.
It's loaded.
I got an easy answer for you. Why don't they watch your Before They're Famous? We cover a lot of it there.
Before You Were Famous. So, I'll answer just like the last one because I think we've covered most of that other ground earlier on in this interview anyway. And like you said in the Before They Were Famous, but I have a lot of people ask me that all the time, especially other artists and other musicians. So people know my story about the Tupac CD and stuff like that, but it just makes me think, if this kid's an artist or there's another artist out there who are maybe asking that question, oh, how did you become an artist? Because they're looking for some form of advice or confirmation that they can move forward with in their own career. I just want to say this. I made music for a long time about the same stuff that everybody else makes music about. The clothes and the girls and the cars and the guns and the drugs and the money and all that nonsense. The world does not need more songs about these things. When I sit down to write a song, if I feel like that song's been done before or done better than I'm doing it, or that song doesn't need to exist, I don't write it. The reason why I talked about those things in my early music was because I wanted to be the cool rapper guy. So I talked about all the things that all the other cool rapper guys were talking about. Nobody wants to hear you tell somebody else's story. If you work at 7-Eleven, rap about that. If you walk dogs, rap about that. If you fix refrigerators for a living, rap about that. Rap about what you know. People gravitate towards what is authentic and what is genuine. People move towards the truth. So be that. And that one thing will take you further in your career than any manager, record label, PR stunt, marketing, etc.
Well, there you go. That's probably the best advice I've heard from a guy who's clearly doing it all right now himself. Tom MacDonald, thank you so much for giving us your time, bro. Right in the middle of so much happening. We're very much thankful that you opened up and told us all this stuff. We'll probably be following your career for many years to come and updating your videos with some of this information. Thank you again, my friend. Anything else?
It was a total pleasure, brother. And I know it's cliche, but I sign off every interview, especially ones that my fans are listening to with this. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. We are going through hell right now, socially, economically, and politically, but even the bumpiest roads eventually run smooth. So everybody just hang in there, and I will too. Love you all tons. It's Hangover Gang forever.
Love it. Thanks a lot, bro.